The time has finally come to answer the questions that you guys have submitted, and boy, there's some good ones. I'm going to do my best to get through these and hopefully give you the answers you were after. Does painting, especially alla prima, get quicker over time? Does it become second nature? I would say absolutely. I mean, this is the journey towards mastery. When you're starting out, there's a lot to think about. I mean, where are the features of the face? What is the structure underneath those features? What sort of paints do I use? How do I start a painting and build up towards the details? Now, after hours and hours of practice, and when I say hours, I mean like thousands of hours, your eye, your brain, and your hand, they'll start to understand and recognize these patterns. And it'll get a lot quicker for you. Now, it's kind of like driving a car or learning how to walk as a child. At first, you have to put a lot of conscious effort into what you're doing. But the more you do it, the less you have to pay attention to all the little details. I mean, when was the last time that you thought about a step before you took it? And painting's, well, any skill really is like that. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to stop thinking, that you shouldn't be conscious of what you're doing. It just means that a lot of these technical and manual parts of painting will become sort of ingrained in you, so you know what to look for and you see it. You're not searching and searching and searching. And really, your thoughts will be able to move on towards other things. So, for example, how's my composition working in this painting? I don't have to worry about where the features are in the face anymore. Now I can sit there and say, all right, is the composition working as a whole? How do I alter proportions or lighting to get the effect that I'm after? So don't think that you're going to get away from thinking. I mean, painting is at the very least always going to be 80% thinking and 20% painting. You will get faster at the manual tasks. But, I mean, with everything else that's involved, it may not necessarily mean that you're creating paintings faster. That the final product isn't coming quicker. When you're working on a painting, how do you know when it's truly finished? Do you usually have a clear end goal from the start? Or is it more about having a certain feeling or intuition as you work? This is something I've thought about quite a bit, and this is a tough question, and I know a lot of us struggle with this. So I'd like to start with the Greek word for perfect, teleos, and its root, telos, which means end. Whereas English, we've got two words. We have end and perfect. The Greek makes a pretty clear connection between these two words, meaning that when something has reached perfection, it's reached the end, at least in terms of improvement. So, really, I don't think that human beings can reach perfection in craft. I just don't think it's possible. Well, take Leonardo da Vinci. He even said, famously, that a work is never completed, only abandoned. And so, a painting can reach an end, but never the end. So how do we know when to stop then? I think a big part of this is having a clear end goal in mind. If you don't have a clear goal, then you don't know where the end is, and you don't know, well, you have nothing to gauge when you should be stopping. And it's a big struggle when you don't have a clear goal. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes you just want to go out there and have some fun and paint whatnot. Without an end goal in sight, you could go, I mean, theoretically forever trying to perfect a painting. So I think having a clear end goal, but almost, if not equally as important, having a clear understanding of your own skill at that time. Chances are your vision and your taste are going to outshine your ability to actually execute a painting. And so you're going to be looking at it like, that's not quite what I wanted. And you're going to keep going, chasing that thing. Now that's not bad. That's not bad. Because painting is a struggle. There's always going to be a struggle. If you don't have a clear understanding of where your skill set is, then you are not going to know when you've reached your limit in terms of skill on a particular piece. And it very likely could happen that you were at a certain skill level when you started a painting, and as you've gone through it, you've learned and grown as a painter, and that the mistakes that you made in the beginning are, well, they're still part of that painting. So you're not going to be able to fix it without going back and starting over. And sometimes, yeah, that's fine. Like if you need to repaint a face or a hand or an arm in a painting, yes. But if you find that you need to repaint most of it, then you should probably just stop and start a new painting. Another thing to think about here is practice. To increase your skill level, you need to be practicing. Working on one single painting for your entire life is not practice. It's not going to get you as far as if you had spent all of that time making a number of paintings. One, you're not going to reach perfection. Two, have a clear end goal in mind. Three, have a clear evaluation of your own skills. And four, be willing to let go of paintings that really just aren't working. Now, maybe you come back to them later. So, and that brings me to another point. Let's add something else in here. Don't just work on one painting at a time. Work on, I would say, at least two. You could probably get away with three. More than that, you might be pushing your mental energy, depending on how much time you have to paint. If you have more than one painting going at a time, then you can put something away. Forget about it for a little bit and work on something else. And then when you've kind of gotten blinded to what you're doing in this new painting, switch them back up. Look at this painting. Your skills might have increased in the meantime, and now you can look at it and say, oh, yes, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. So, how do you know when a painting is finished? It's a combination of having a clear end goal and an honest evaluation of your skill so that you know, okay, this is as far as I can go right now. Let me start another painting. And chances are you might go back to that previous painting, you might not. And if you don't, then it's finished. Should I start with drawings or paintings? If you're just starting out, I would say drawings. Definitely drawings. I would start with drawings for a number of reasons. First, I mean, it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more accessible, takes a lot less time, it's more forgiving, and really drawing is the basis for all representational painting. So if you get proficient in drawing, you have a pretty good heads up when you start painting. In drawing, you're only thinking about black and white and shade and light. Whereas painting, you're starting to add in a lot of other things, or the colors. There's a lot of things you can do with drawing. Experiment with different mediums and techniques. For example, charcoal. You can get a lot of very painterly effects with charcoal. You can, push the charcoal around. You can wipe it out. You can smudge it. Really nice, smooth gradations. Especially on the paper, you're kind of filling in those gaps in the paper, the texture in the paper with charcoal. You could try ink or pen, and this is great for learning lines and learning confidence in placing them. I mean, you can't erase these things. It really forces you to stop and think about what you're going to do. Imagine Leonardo da Vinci. Think about his drawings, those beautiful serpentine lines that he can achieve, and think about his paintings, and for like the Mona Lisa and the beautiful serpentine curls and silhouettes. And you also have graphite, which is, almost want to say, a mixture of those two. You can get very, very fine lines with graphite because you can sharpen it to such an extreme point. And with the gradations and softness, you can build up dark shadows. Now I don't think it ever gets as dark as charcoal. Charcoal tends to absorb the light because it's matte, whereas graphite is glossier and has more reflection. Even if you are a seasoned painter or someone who's more than a complete beginner, somewhere in the intermediate stages, keep drawing. I mean, it's great practice. It keeps your eyes, brain, and hands sharp. What are some of the biggest mistakes you made in the beginning? I would say some of the biggest mistakes I made were when I started out. I thought that classical painting was dead. And I thought that I had to be original to become an artist and to have my work reflect the zeitgeist. Now, later on, I came to realize none of that is true, especially as a classical painter. There seems to be a resurgence of skilled painters. So classical painting isn't dead. Even if a lot of the techniques were lost, human beings made these things before, and we can figure it out again. So that's sort of a non-issue at this point. Now, originality. That's really an empty goal to me. I think being skilled is a meaningful goal to work towards. And really, I don't know, I don't think that originality is actually something that exists. I think it's all just variations on a theme. Now, I could make a full another video on that, so I'll leave it at that and move on to the zeitgeist. That's, I think, another sham. I mean, at the very best, you would want to be ahead of the zeitgeist, sort of leading the edge, or the avant-garde, so to say. I mean, the zeitgeist comes and it goes like fashion. You want to be focusing on truth and those things that make us human and make the world what it is, the eternal things that don't seem to change no matter what age you are in. And in that way, you can attempt to make paintings that speak to people far into the future just as well as they would speak to someone now or to someone in the past. Those were definitely some of the biggest mistakes I made. What do you do to gain inspiration for a piece? Well, I look towards other great works, whether it be painting, literature, poetry, film, philosophy, theology. I look towards works that hit on the essentials of what it means to be human. Take Repin's work, Ivan the Terrible and His Son. If you've ever seen this work, it doesn't even really matter what their names are. And it doesn't even really matter if you know the history behind it. You can look at this work, you have an understanding of what's happened. You see him holding his son with the look of absolute agony on his face. And you see the stick with which he's hit him over the head in a fit of rage and killed him. Now, maybe you don't get all of that out of the painting, but you're definitely going to get, most of that. As you absorb these works, some things will stand out, things that really resonate with your personal experience and almost insist that you paint them. Perhaps an unrequited love, the struggle of raising a family, a death of someone close to you. These are all things that people everywhere experience to some degree. If you're religious, there are many stories in the Bible and religious texts that explore really deep questions about what it means to be a human. Same with philosophy. I think these are great ways to find inspiration. Personally, I use painting quite a bit to explore ideas that I'm struggling with. If I'm thinking about something over and over, it usually means that I should probably paint it. How has the Mona Lisa series impacted your painting style or even your habits and techniques? It's maybe still a little early to tell. I'll know fully once I've finished the painting. But I would say one thing that's really standing out to me now is the difference between how I normally paint and the way that Leonardo paints. He's very, very, very concerned with refinement and sfumato. You can hardly tell where these transitions between shadow and light occur. Whereas I normally paint a rougher style, more like Rembrandt or like a late Titian. Lots of texture. I'll put it like this. The more you zoom in towards my paintings, the more texture, and you start to see brush marks, and it really starts to dissolve. Whereas the closer you get to a Leonardo painting, the transitions just seem more and more impossible. They just become finer and finer, and you can't tell where one shadow begins and where the highlights and the lights end. It just keeps going. I really hope to take some of this subtlety into my daily painting. I plan to learn how to do that. If you could suggest ways to get started, what would be your top 3 things to do? Okay, well, I would say first, draw. It allows you to take some of the guesswork out before you start a painting, because a painting is a very complicated thing. Second, I would learn to love practice. Learn to enjoy the monotonous. It takes a long time, thousands of hours. It takes years to get good at painting. Remember, painting is a marathon, not a sprint. And a lot of the greatest painters made their best works at the end of their lives, right before they died. So learn to love practice, because you're going to be doing a lot of it. Third, when you start painting, focus on goals that push your limits, but don't completely exceed your abilities. Don't just jump straight into a 10-foot by 10-foot canvas if you've never painted before, or if all you've ever done is, little portraits or something like that. learn color theory through a limited palette, and then start to experiment, test things out, see what you like. Take things in small steps and don't overcomplicate it. Always keep the long-term goal in mind, but don't forget to give yourself little wins along the way. How to achieve a likeness. The best way to achieve a likeness is really learning the geometry of the face, learning the underlying structure. Likeness doesn't come from the individual parts like the eyes, the nose, the mouth. It comes from the structure underneath them. The cheekbones, the shape of the forehead, what shape the face itself is. Is it an oval? Is it a square, a rectangle? Is it a diamond, a heart? Learning how to identify this underlying geometry, you should be able to achieve a likeness with a rough painting where no details are included. I'm talking about sort of like the triangles where the eyes are, and maybe the pupils, and the shadows and the lights. And you could find these by squinting at the person that you're painting. You'll definitely lose likeness as you work into a painting from that first layer. It happens. It's inevitable. I think a painting is really like, you get that initial first layer down and it's like, oh, it's so vibrant and it's so there. You've got the likeness, it's like, it's there. And then as you start to work into the details, you kind of lose all of it. You lose that freshness. And so painting is really having that freshness and the likeness, working into the details and losing it, and then refining it to get back to that freshness and the likeness that you had at the beginning. If you could sit down and have a conversation with any master painter you've studied, who would it be, and what would be the first thing you'd ask them? And as a follow-up, do you think there's something today's artists could teach the masters if the roles were reversed? If I could sit down with any painter, it would be Rembrandt. His painting technique is just, I love it. I would ask him why he paints. Because even though he had success in the first part of his career, later on, he fell on hard times. He went bankrupt, he lost multiple wives, he lost his children. And throughout all of it, he kept painting, right up until he died. And he kept pushing his painting further and further. So I would love to know what kept him going, why he was doing it. Now, the masters could come and see us today. What could they learn from us? I think they would be fascinated by some of the technology that we have. I mean, we have so much information at our fingertips. You can go online and see pretty good photographs of paintings, or you can zoom right into it and see all of the brush marks. And I think that would blow them away. I also think that some of the technology we have would be very useful tools for them. I know a few of the old masters use mirrors as a way to see their painting through new eyes. Now, I do that as well. I use mirror all the time. But sometimes I also use my phone. So I'll take a photo of a painting and throw it into editor, and there I can reverse it, I can flip it upside down, I can crop it in certain ways, I can go into my paint tool and do some washes over it and, you know, test out ideas before I actually put it on canvas. So I think that would almost certainly interest them as a way to improve their craft as well. Having a picture also acts as a separate set of eyes. It's a way to distance yourself from the painting and helps you see your mistakes. I mean, if you've ever seen a picture of yourself and looked at it and wondered is that what I look like? Then you'll know what I mean. How do you feel about the smell of some oil paints? My teacher says it's nostalgic for her. I love it. This is also incredibly nostalgic for me when I was training. I remember the first time I walked into my master's studio and the scent of linseed oil and balsam turpentine. It's something I'll never forget. And it's in my own studio, so it'll be hard to forget. Now I know turpentine is not good to be smelling, so keep in mind you should be working in a well-ventilated space if you are using thinners. But something about that smell, that combination, it gets me every time. I hope you've liked this video. If you want more Q&As later down the road, or if you want me to expand on some of the questions that I answered today, just comment in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe.